This is August 21st, 2025. It's 4:02 p.m. This is the Bluff Town Council meeting. Roll call.
Linda Sosa,
Britt Hornsby.
Jennifer Davila, Luanne Hook,
Ann Leppanen.
Erin Nelson serving as town manager.
Quick correction, you said August 21st, it's August 19th.
Quick correction, it's August 19th, not August 21st.
Oh, wait, it's the 21st here. Thank you. The 19th. Thanks for catching that. The first is approval of the Bluff Town Council meeting minutes of August 5th, 2025. Has everybody read them? Are there any modifications, changes, points of discussion?
I have a comment on number 9, new business. The owners of property on 6th West, they're actually, this is sagebrush. I don't know if sagebrush was ever mentioned in the meeting, but it probably ought to not say 6th West. And then the alley in question is a 4th South alley, and the discussion was to have them not do anything with the 6th West alley, which was the correction that I made to Britt's motion.
And Luanne, make sure you keep your voice up because for me, and I guess the rest of the audience, it drops off.
Do I need to repeat something?
No, I think it's just speaking up. So any other corrections, points of discussion?
All right, motion to approve Bluff Town Council meeting minutes of August 5th, 2025 with Luanne's notes.
Second.
Any further discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then next is approval of the Bluff Town Council work session of August 12th, 2025. Again, has everybody read them? Are there any changes, points of discussion?
All right, motion to approve Bluff Town Council work session minutes of August 12th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then public comment. There will be a 3-minute time limit for anyone who wishes to make a public comment. If you exceed the 3-minute time limit without permission, the meeting controller will mute you. If you are in the audience and wish to make a public comment, raise your hand. And if you're online, either raise the hand icon or put your name in the chat box. We'll start with the audience. Erin, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make a public comment?
Yes, we do have Gary Hawes here, who's indicated he'd like to make a public comment.
Can I just sit here?
If you could come up, just since our little recorder's here, and we can pull around a little chair for you if you'd like.
It'll be brief.
Okay, all right.
We'll be brief. No, I attended your work session last week on the 12th, and the ordinance that you're working on at the cemetery, limiting horses and cattle from the cemetery. I can understand free range stuff, but what about a horse-drawn hearse? Or the horse-drawn wagon train going into, or the tour going into the cemetery? So I'd like it to be reconsidered to allow for that type of thing, not just wild horses, but horse-drawn hearse, horse-drawn, tour, just on the road through the cemetery and out.
Valid points.
But that was it.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else in the room? All right, then we'll, excuse me, we'll move to online. Is there anyone online who wishes to make a public comment?
Yes, I do have Diana Davidson on the phone who would like to make a public comment. Diana, are you able to unmute yourself?
And so let me.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Let me preface this before Diana Davidson starts. This was an item that should have been on our agenda and fell off, but because of the nature of the item, I'm going to extend Diana's time to an additional 7 minutes, so 10 minutes, slightly more if she needs more time. Go ahead, Diana.
All right, thank you, Ann, and thank you, Town Council. I am calling in today from the Bluff Dark Sky Festival Organizing Committee. We want to provide you with an update on the Bluff Dark Sky Festival, which will be held on November 14th and 15th. It will be Friday evening and then all day Saturday and Saturday evening. The organizing committee consists of Pamela Uris and Jennifer Davila from the Business Owners of Bluff and Sarah Burak from Bears Ears Partnership. We have been meeting regularly as well as irregularly for several months. Our schedule is not final, but many elements are in place, and we feel that this is a great opportunity to give you an update on what our plans are. So who is this festival for? Of course, it's for Bluff residents. We want to celebrate Bluff's International Dark Sky designation. It's also for our neighboring communities from the north, south, east, and west, as well as any other communities in the Four Corners area. So it will be bigger, or the intent is that it will be bigger than just the residents of Bluff. But basically for anybody that enjoys the beautiful Bluff night sky, and especially in the autumn months, this should be an interesting view. Speakers that we have confirmed thus far are Kevin Schindler. He is from the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff. His official position is the historian. He has been an astronomer in residence at the Grand Canyon. He does a number of outreach events. He will do a general astronomy topic, and we're very excited to have him speak on Friday evening. On Saturday evening, speakers will include Drs. Nancy Maryboy and David Begay, and they will speak on Navajo constellations. From my understanding, they are considered the experts, if not among the top experts on Navajo constellations. Their website is called Sharing the Skies. They have a book. The last time I was at Twin Rocks Trading Post, they had the book called Sharing the Skies. And we're really excited to have them confirmed as speakers on Saturday evening. I don't have a firm speaker agreement in place for this next speaker, so I can't announce the name. I do have a verbal commitment, but this would be for a professional Navajo storyteller to tell Navajo winter stories right after the constellation taught by Nancy Maryboy and David Begay. Additionally, Jonathan Till will be speaking. He's not going to be focused on the night. He will be focused on celestial events that happen during the day and how the ancestral Puebloans at the Bluff Great House aligned with the Twin Rocks and other nearby landmarks. So we're excited to have him speak as well. We have Matthias Schmidt and a couple of other astronomers coming, or amateur astronomers coming from Stargazing Zion. They are being paid for by San Juan Visitor Services, Allison Yamamoto Sparks' group there. So we're very excited to have them. Each night after the speakers conclude, we will move outside for a telescope walk and constellation tours. We think that we will have at least a dozen really good telescopes, and we've put a call out. Sarah is assisting with this for telescope operators to bring their telescopes down. We welcome them. We really want to have a good showing of telescopes focused on various things in the sky at that time. On Saturday, during the day, we have quite a number of family activities and activities for the Little Dippers. I'm calling them the Little Dippers. So we will have a portable planetarium for both a show about Navajo constellations as well as Western constellations. There will be a rock painting workshop, a planet walk, solar scopes, and other activities that we are still finalizing. So we have a full day of activities on Saturday, and then guest speakers, constellation tours, and telescopes on both Friday evening and Saturday evening. We are going to need volunteers for this. So we ask that anybody that is interested in being a volunteer to please get in touch with me or to attend the event on Saturday evening at the Bears Ears Partnership. You can learn more about the festival there and talk about what's involved and hopefully sign up to be a volunteer. I don't know if Sarah is online and if there's anything that she wants to add, but that's all of the information that I have now. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
Just to clarify, that would be this Saturday at Bears Ears Partnership, right?
Correct. This Saturday at Bears Ears Partnership, right, that event. And they're going to be looking for dark sky ambassadors to help with the light measurement to keep the dark sky community designation. I know that's one thing, but we are going to be looking and talking with volunteers for this festival at that event as well.
Okay.
And I might mention, I forgot to mention this, Anne, I'm so sorry, is that the events, the speakers, the telescope tours, the telescope walk, and the constellation tours will be at the Bluff Community Center. We have arranged to have parking elsewhere, and I can come back at a later date and update you on that. The daytime events during Saturday will be at other locations, but the speakers, the constellation tours, and the telescope walk will be at the Bluff Community Center.
Thank you, Diana. Sarah Brack has her hand up, and I'll give you a minute or two here, Sarah, if you wish to add to this.
Thanks, Anne. Thank you, Diana. I think you did a really good job updating about what the event will be, the festival itself. But I just wanted to clarify that we are hosting a public star party at the Bluff Community Center this Saturday. So if you're interested in being a dark sky ambassador, which is anyone who is a dark sky enthusiast who'd like to learn constellations or learn telescopes or learn how to do our dark sky monitoring, we're inviting you guys to come meet with us, learn what we're offering. This is our first meeting, but just know that volunteers this is as you can volunteer. So we're not expecting you to sign up for like a year-long commitment or attend every star party, but we are looking for people that we can call upon throughout the year to help us with monitoring and people who just want to learn more about the night sky. That meeting will begin at 8 p.m. Saturday at the Bluff Community Center. We're just going to be meeting outside in the parking area. And then at 8:30, we will begin our community star program. So that's just open to anyone and everyone who'd like to look through telescopes and look at constellations. And unfortunately, because I've scheduled a star party, it is forecast to be cloudy, but we are still going to meet and we're going to do our very best to look at what we can see as clouds allow. Any questions about the Dark Sky Ambassador program or our function on Saturday?
Council, any questions? Thanks,
Thanks.
Sarah.
Yeah, thanks for organizing it all.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
guys.
both. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Diana. Is there any other public comment, Erin?
I don't show anyone else with a raised hand.
Okay, then we will move to number 1, a review of Bluff Playground bids, recommendation, discussion, and vote on acceptance of a bid. I believe that's Malia Collins presenting, who's probably bringing in a dog.
Oh, the dog has been lying next to her the whole time.
Sure. I don't think I should need to share. This is a pretty quick explanation, description, request. Hello, council. Thank you so much for having me. So what I am asking you and presenting to you today is based on the discussion that our playground committee has had over the last 2 Mondays. We received, as you recall, opening all of those bids. Thank you for your patience a couple of weeks ago. We received 4 bids, but each bid actually had multiple options in it. And so after meeting, after the playground committee has met, the playground committee has requested that the council approve Garrett Play as the company that we would like to sign a contract with. They were the company that provided 5 options. We like all of their options, but we'd like to kind of tweak option 1, which is the 180, I just pulled it up. $189,535,000 bid. We don't anticipate it being that expensive once we tweak it, because we are also working with the artist group that is doing the symbol tree and creating that. And so our goal is that we are going to actually push a little bit more off of this bid into that portion. So things like the embankment slide and potentially some other like stations, like a weaving station and a sandbox and different things. So what our goal is that we would like to, like I said, award Garrett Parks and Play with the contract. And then once that is awarded, the playground committee will work with Garrett to rework this option to what we really want to see and come up with the dollar amount that is going to work best for us, that is going to meet all of our needs and that where we want it to be. Yes, Jen?
The other thing that we wanted, we're looking at the possibility of changing out some of the equipment that they
Exactly.
included in the bid. So substituting some different playground equipment.
Right, so one thing from option 4, maybe to throw it on option 1 and replace something else, and it'll still be around the same price, and then kind of switching up some of the ground base, instead of putting the wood chips everywhere, maybe do a little bit of the poured surface material. So kind of just tweaking it a little bit, and we can come back and receive approval once we work it out with Garrett on that exact amount. But before we start having that conversation, I do just want to make sure that we have awarded the contract to Garrett and then told the others that we've gone another direction, and then work it out from there.
Does anybody have any questions about the request?
How much was the grant for?
Great question. The grant is for $165,000. I think it's flat. 165,000, not 165.5.
And then we have a match, right?
And then we have a 13,000, yeah, and then the town is a $13,000 match.
Which most of that match is planned to be in kind and stuff now. Is that the plan?
That's check. Well,
No, there's actually 13,000 of it is cash, and then we have met our other 20% in kind. Yeah. I wrote it down yesterday of our total $178,000. So yeah, it was exactly $165,000 is the grant. To answer a couple of questions, this is not the cheapest, and we chose to not go with the cheapest bid because while we did give the other contract or all bidders the option to provide just a quote for the playground or just a quote for the sport court, Garrett actually included the playground and the sport court, and they can do both of them. And so that was an added benefit. They've also worked in our county, which is really, really beneficial. It feels like their prices are probably really accurate.
Anyone else?
So
Okay.
what's the like process for doing this? We just approve it at this number and then, and with an edit to come?
I think it would probably be beneficial to say that you're approving this vendor to allow Malia and or I to like set up a contract with that vendor. If you wanted to provide a cap to like the total project cost paid to this vendor, I think you could do that, or you can come back and say, make sure you present to council what the final total is going to be. So I think you could go both options, say, here's your cap max that you need to fit in, or go ahead, get everything set up, bring back that final total for one more vote.
I would think rather than to cap it, we ask to have it brought back, because in this economy, we have no clue where everything is going, and there may need to be some looking at money we set aside for capital projects. So I personally would like to just see it without the cap and bring it back. But I don't know how other people feel.
Well, that was my question to the committee. What would you prefer? Would you rather just say, we've got this much money and fit in the pieces so that you have a little limit on it? Or do you want to just go back to your committee and figure it out? And
I think as an advisory committee, we're really, now we've heard the recommendation. I think we need to make the decision and make the motion.
More discussion? All right, motion to approve contract with Garrett Parks and Play for playground at Bluff Community Center, with the advisory committee bringing back the edited numbers after they've made some changes with the company.
second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, well, go for it.
Woohoo, thanks, everybody.
Well, thanks for your work on it. I also think that it's good to have it all done by the same time. You just save on all those expenses of getting here.
Well, according to our schedule, it is going to be fall playground, spring court, but it will be nice to have the same company.
All right, number 2, a review of the Bluff Cemetery bids, a discussion and a vote on acceptance of a bid. And this, Erin was going to bring back a little more information. So Erin.
Erin was, unfortunately, I've been playing phone tag with Century. The other folks have been super responsive, and they're checking in to see when this will be assigned, but I haven't gotten a confirmation that Century would actually be on the ground, and I know that's really important. So I can definitely make sure, I'll probably just try to get something in writing, since the phone calls we just have had a little hit and miss. But I do still think, due to the significant cost difference, it would still make sense to make sure that we're confirmed. And again, no fault of their own. This is very much a me scheduling issue. So with that being said, like, if they can be on ground, would you all be comfortable with that price?
Well, so I was able to go to, happened to be going to Pecos for work, and was surrounded by people who know what they're doing with this, and talked to several experts about this that aren't bidding on this or related to anybody bidding on it. And they did explain like why the price difference could be so high, based off whether or not, if this is all the company does, or if they're doing other things, they might just have overhead that never gets lower than a certain number, right? So, that makes me feel much better about this getting done for our purposes. But I did want to, thanks for leaving the space to double check on such a widely different.
It's such a big number, and I apologize for not getting a hold of them. But that's good to know, little background.
I mean, it's
Okay.
for what we're asking for. I think
Yeah.
it sounds good, so.
And I have received some information as well from the Southwest Heritage Foundation that they had done some I don't know if it was described as surveying, but essentially seeing what was up there. But because of how long it's been since that happened and probably improvements in technology, not that we necessarily needed or, asked for, I didn't approach them for that feedback, but they just said, based on that time, it makes sense that you all would be looking at this, because even though we might have some of the information improvements in technology are probably significant enough that, maybe additional things might be found, so.
Yeah, and I had that comment of if you had talked to Bill Davis or Debbie Westfall, because they have done the archaeology piece and they've been involved with the cemetery and Southwest Heritage.
Yeah, it
So
was
I think
Bill I spoke with, and yeah, he was the one who, he's like, oh, we do have that, but it's been some time, and I bet, especially if it is within scope of, the grant or, something achievable from a cost perspective, we might as well just do it because of that element.
The other comment that I have is that SWCA looks totally legit.
Oh, yeah.
And they may provide more than what we need. It seems like they focus a lot on the archaeology. We don't necessarily, I don't know, do we need what they have to offer? But also the century mapping, I can't really tell what they're all about. And I just was hoping that somebody had found a reference that they had done for somebody else that was legit.
Yeah, no, I know Anne had made the initial contact, and that it is kind of just all they do, or these cemeteries, but I'll see.
But are there some towns that you could talk to and find out if they really did it?
Yeah, definitely look into that.
Because it's, I couldn't find any.
Okay.
The century, the cheaper one.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And, several years ago, when they did mapping and things like that, they didn't use drones. I mean, there could be things like that, because that group just only does this kind of mapping, and they probably really have it down.
So-
Yeah, and I think it's important, they come, boots on the ground is always a helpful thing with these bids that we do.
Okay, so here's kind of my very basic analysis. Let's say we continue to gather more information versus a company that this is all they do versus a company that does a lot. I don't believe that we have it in our budget at this point to cough up the difference between the grant and the $70,000. That's for the second company. With the first company that's coming in lower, this was the grant amount awarded from the state to do this type of work, which awarded similar grants to 8, 10, 20 other entities to do this work. So somewhere in the thinking of the state Division of Cemeteries, this would be a reasonable amount of money plus our matching piece.
And what was that grant?
I'm sorry?
I just wondered how much that grant was for. I don't have it in front of my head.
I think it was 10, but was it 10,000, Erin?
That sounds right.
Leah said
I believe it was 10. I don't have, okay, full disclosure, left my book sitting on my office desk, so at home, so I'm in Michigan, I don't have it. It was in that ballpark. My thinking is we need to get started somewhere, and we are going to get something for our money. We are going to get the start to the mapping, even if it's not a full scale piece. I don't see that given our priorities with the Cooperative Cultural Center, the Community Center, the litigation, I don't see that we have the funds to go with a $70,000 bid. And I would go with the one that's closest to what the funds are that we have and get us started at this point.
Yeah, and to be clear too, the whole wanting to double check, I know that's always been out of our budget. I just wanted to make sure one was very simple, straightforward, kind of easy to read, and much cheaper. The other one had a lot of jargon in it I didn't really understand. So I wanted to make sure we were getting the same thing, and we weren't like, yeah, well, you're paying $7,200 because you're getting a totally different thing than you're expecting. So I feel totally comfortable after talking with all these archaeologists about this ground penetrating radar that it'll be the same. So.
And just to clarify, because, as Ann indicated, there were other grants that went around to the state. Malia, this was one that you had also reached out to a number of vendors to solicit as an open RFP. So I feel really confident too that, what Malia has been doing with that has been so helpful in getting, qualified bids, but bidders in general. That, given that we did get two, we do have something to compare against. And, Malia had done that due diligence for us to ensure that we had, the message was out and it was properly advertised and everything. Thank you, Malia.
And I'm totally comfortable with voting for that if we know that they're legit and they have a reference from at least a couple other towns.
Yeah.
That they are actually done this work and they're not just a website.
Yeah. I will say I have spoken with him on the phone, like before our first, but I've definitely talked to him. I know Ann's talked to him. But yeah, we can definitely reach out.
Hopefully they are, but it just feels a little funny to me.
We can always defer it to the mid-September, and then we may not make the deadline of being done by the end of the year. So I'm fine with however folks want to do it.
I mean, I could make a motion that is contingent on that follow-up.
References.
Yeah, on references. So I'll do that. Are you comfortable with that?
That's fine.
Okay. So, motion to accept bid from Century Mapping. Yeah, motion to accept bid from Century Mapping to do the mapping at the Bluff Cemetery, contingent on references for on-the-ground work done in other places.
Second.
And we amend the motion to include how many references?
Probably two.
Two, yeah, two.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. And then Erin, you and I can touch base on the next step with that. Number 3, discussion and vote on Utah Denebakea's request to remove the 4 flower boxes from the Cooperative Cultural Center grounds. Just a little update is there'd been a request about 10 days ago, a week ago, whatever. A week ago, I guess. UDB had someone there to remove the flower boxes. Malia Collins and I were both out of town. The gates are locked. I told Janet Sloman that this would have to be arranged if that were to happen. But as Erin has correctly pointed out, we voted to say this was the date you had to have things out, and they didn't make that date. We did run this by Chris McEnany, who said there's no obligation to revisit it, but I wanted to be sure we were transparent and that it wasn't just one person answering Janet with a no. So any discussion, anybody want to change what we did?
Is there a use for them with the design review group? Do you want them?
We've had a number of people reach out and ask about them. And it might be that St. Christopher's, the flower or the garden out there might want them. But we've had a number of people ask to if they could be purchased. They're also abandoning the refrigerator, freezer, and the whiteboard that wasn't really Utah Denebakea's to begin with in the modular. So this would only be the flower boxes. I'm pretty much like, we've had an agreement, we've honored it. I say, let's just move on.
I
But
kind
that,
of question if in good, in good faith and trying to still be, the
I don't have a problem with them coming to get the boxes personally, because I feel like in order to maintain good relationship with them, I think it's kind of a petty thing. Personally, is where I would let them come up.
I'm okay with them taking them if it's like a time limit though. It's like they
Yeah,
need to be out
yeah,
there by
I mean,
X,
they have
so
to arrange it on our schedule and everything else and not just show up and
get them out.
demand this, but
The gift that keeps on giving.
I think in
Okay,
order
so-
to serve goodwill.
so-
If, you know, if we do that, maybe this is a waste of time, but I would say you do it this day. If you don't do it this day, they're ours. I don't know if that,
Well, okay, so legally and technically, they already have abandoned it. But if people want, and I understand about keeping good relationships, if we want to do that, then whoever makes the motion should set a date and time that they're to be picked up so that people aren't spending time opening the gates, closing the gates, opening the modular, closing the modular. Our time is important too. And so they need to stick to a schedule as to how they're going to do it. So somebody, if we want to do that, frame the motion in such a way that it locks in the process.
And so they're outside the modular, but inside the fence.
Correct.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind meeting them if that's the problem.
And I request that the motion would also include that they bring people to load it or arrange who is going to do the labor.
Is there a date you would want us to pick or arrange and make you
By
point
the
person
15th of September or something, that gives them a couple weeks.
by the 15th?
Say that again.
Or just asked by which date that I'd be willing to go over and let them in, and I said 15th.
On September 15th.
No,
by
just
September.
by September 15th, just do it by then, and then we're free to do whatever we want with them after that, still be fall, it can still move.
But I think what Ann is asking for is that we have a specific date and time that they are there to
And
pick them
that's-
up, because they can, you know, we
Here's the problem, Lou, and I'll just say it head on. Right now, a lot of us, including you, including me, we're in and out of town. They showed up with someone with a truck to pick it up with no warning. I think if we're going to do this to save everybody some angst, because when they didn't get a hold of Erin, they didn't get a hold of me, they couldn't get a hold of Malia. It's not reasonable. So let's give them a date and time that works in your schedule, that they're, even if it's a range of dates. But honestly, they just,
So you just say they need to call and plan it ahead of time, plan it by the night before. And just give them my phone number.
And you're comfortable being the point person on
Yeah.
it? We'll put it to you.
I'll be
Okay.
here most always, so.
All right, so I will try to make this motion. Motion that you, Todd and Nabakaya, be allowed to pick up their 4 flower boxes from the Cooperative Cultural Center grounds by September 15th, with Luanne being primary coordination for the pickup. They also should bring their own labor and transport to pick up the flower boxes.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. All right. Sorry, I'm a little on the slow side here because I have to work off my phone for part of this. Okay, 4, quote and vote on the cost of printing for dark sky materials. Erin, I didn't know where we were with that, so I just threw that in. If
Yeah,
we're
no,
done.
great timing. So I received 3 different, so the big thing that I need probably help with from you all is how many brochures you want for each, the resident brochure versus the business centric brochure. So I ended up getting a range of quotes in different quantities that was in your agenda packet. So you'll see 3 different vendor options, online A, online B, and then Brand Central, since they're kind of close to us. So it's really gonna depend on like how many of each we are printing. Definitely don't have to go through the same vendor for both, since it's a interesting swing of, you know, how many we're going to print. So I guess for the resident brochures, how many would you want to have on hand? Are we going to like pass them out at events? I don't know if those would be as easy to like do the direct mail or whatever, but I'm just curious about like how to distribute, when to distribute, who all needs them, and then same for businesses. So that will help us determine what we're doing.
I personally think that we should look at mailing them, especially if they're a trifold flyer. We used to mail brochures in Wild Rivers all the time. So I would like to know the cost of mailing them. I think that's the best way to assure that everybody who's a town resident actually has access to it. I think if we try to do it at events, we hit or miss a lot of people. So I'd like to see them be mailed.
And since it's a compliance thing, I'd like to minimize the amount of people saying, well, I didn't see it, or I didn't get it. If it's like, no, we mailed them to everybody, physical copy. I know that's a little bit more expensive, but.
So for quantity wise, I would say the businesses, we probably don't need more than 25, I don't think. Linda, you have a better handle on that than I do, because you know how many registered businesses we have.
Oh, how many businesses?
Yeah.
23, I think. You might want to include short-term rentals.
Right.
There's
So
about
maybe we
23
should get
of them.
50, 50 business ones. And then I would say 250 for residents. I don't know.
So that's the interesting thing. So the direct mail program, if we were to do the everyday direct mail, we have to send out all 453, but knowing that we have a lot of P.O. box holders who are not Town of Bluff, you know, they don't have a physical address in the Town of Bluff. I don't know in terms of like the mailing lists that we have, if we would be able to hone in on exactly who would receive it. You know, certainly if you want to say like, okay, we're making sure everyone gets one, we would do the 453. But has the Town of Bluff ever done like a direct mail to constituents otherwise? Or is it just everyday direct mail where we have to do the canvas all boxes?
I think when a lot of us did campaign mailing, we only did Bluff resident. I mean, I know that I certainly didn't send out to all 450 P.O. boxes for my campaign stuff, but I can't remember exactly how that worked. I also don't think it's a bad idea to send it out to anybody who has a Bluff mailbox, because, you know, I mean, dark skies are dark skies, and the cost difference between 500 and 250 is like, well, depending on which bid we go with, the lowest is $25. So is that enough to split hairs about?
Will this mailer be something we can mail for that price? Because it was really pretty cheap to do the postcard, but when you have a trifold, is it the same?
I think it might need to go in an envelope, but I am dropping off our next postcards tomorrow at the post office, so I can ask our postmaster.
Yeah, it would be a redesign, but you can do them, so you can just drop your brochure in the mail.
We could do that too, and then just take over something.
And my thought is that we all do email, and everything goes on electronically, and then I see so much paper just get tossed right in the trash and they get wasted. So I've wondered if maybe we need, say, posters put up around town, like enlarge one to where we can post it, post office and KMC and so on. And then send an email blast to everybody with just the poster with directions that, you know, so I think the businesses need to have one in hand, and I do like Brand Central that we can do small little repeat mailings.
I think the residents have to have something in hand too. I mean, we're asking residents to come into compliance with dark sky code stuff as much as we are businesses, so
I mean, that's the part that gets me, is like making sure that they
that everybody sees
got
it.
it. I mean, even
Can we
to do,
drop 'em?
even to do both. Oh,
I,
God.
well, I think when we're looking at enforcement things and stuff like that, if you have somebody who, we're going to enforcement and they say, I didn't receive anything about this. We could say, well, we mailed you a brochure, you know, I think there's no way to prove that somebody can see something that's on a website
Could we send
or
or
an email.
could we use the Waterworks mailing list and shrink it down? But like you say, I think it's important for the neighbors to know that that's our
Just
goal.
good information, you know, I think it's good information, and if you're going with the overall picture of we want to preserve our night skies, it's not
It's the
just us,
region,
it's the region.
Education, counts on our education of.
I just don't think it's a big enough price split to split hairs over.
It's the easiest way to go.
Yeah. We don't have to do, you know, we don't have to sit there and address, you know, come up with addresses and everything else. We can just take it to Nate and say, hey, put it in the box holders.
And it would be done.
Yeah.
As opposed to like something when we're passing out might have a long tail on it. We're having to take brochures to every event and keep it.
And then it can be on our website
And
too,
both.
and hopefully it can be on the Bluff.org website.
Yeah, I think we can just like rearrange the panels to like put them in order, reading order.
Did you say you can talk to Nate and find out? if we
Yeah,
can minimum, or or
yeah, I can identify if, because yeah, I think Jim's right. We could do a redesign. I know it's pretty packed. There's a lot on that right now.
Yeah, to get it to be,
We could redesign the back panel to,
but I wonder if we're doing it to box holder only, if we're not having to put an address on it, that maybe we don't need to do a redesign. Maybe we just put a sticker on it and say, Nate, can you put one of these in each box? Because
yeah,
we're
I mean,
not putting an address space at that point.
no, what we've done with Everyday Direct Mail is like, there is still that little,
There's like a blank box.
Right, well, that's what I was thinking for addresses, but that's how we used to, that's what we used to have on our brochure was a blank.
It's like a blank
To
box that
whoever.
says how it was denoted or how it was paid for.
yeah, I've just been printing that, like the one that's gonna go out here in just, hopefully tomorrow. Yeah, we just like have it printed directly on there, but yeah, we probably would have room on,
You could even do it on the front box.
yeah, that's true.
You do it, look at that sign.
Yeah.
That'd be enough room to.
So I'll talk to him about that, or if it's the same price to just put them in envelopes. And then you could also include like a little, like just a little note, printed note that says something about, I don't know, just that distinguishing, like.
I just want it to be easier for you and me, because if we have to.
Not
take all
Malia,
of
Malia's
these-
good, it's for me.
Okay, if we have to take all of these and physically
Yeah.
put them in envelopes as opposed to just
Yeah.
putting a little tab sticker on it and
Yeah.
dropping it off, then it's a lot easier to.
I appreciate that, okay. So on website, here, it seems like if we're doing the 500, the cheapest one is gonna be quite a bit. The cheapest would definitely be the online option 2. And then I think for the price difference, probably it looks like they would also do our business ones. So option 2.
Online B.
Mm-hmm.
Canva.
Do we know how Canva mails us, or do they come pre-folded, or is that gonna be?
I'll double check.
Yeah. hopefully. Yeah, hopefully they have normally a machine, they can just.
I hope
Yeah, that's my hope is,
Yeah.
do they come all folded?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what's the difference in the price. Because I just still encourage working with a local company.
For $200 extra, so I can't necessarily justify.
Need to go get it. Yeah.
200
Yeah.
with how many business, so it's 31 there. That would be,
Or 50, we're gonna do the 50,
Yeah, it'd be about 200.
so about $200.
And we'd have to go physically get it normally. It's Brand Central.
that'll just
Thank
take a
you,
little
too.
longer, but it'll show up.
Okay, I'm gonna give us 1 more minute to wrap this up because we still have quite a bit to go.
Motion to move forward with online Canva for printing of dark sky materials, mailers for 500 for residents and 50 for business.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Is that the same company that printed the postcards?
Different company.
So Britt made the motion. Who seconded?
Jen seconded it.
Then all in favor, say aye.
Right.
Anyone opposed? All right, next item. A discussion and vote on amendments to the board and committee policy. Excuse me, I listened to the end of the work session and it sounded to me like we could possibly have a consensus to amend the board and committee policy to make 2 adjustments. One, to the number of committees that someone can be on, and the other to the I don't have the language right in front of me, but where if you're employed, okay, Erin, help me out with the exact language.
Yeah, employees of the town of Bluff, whether merit or appointed, shall not be eligible for membership on a town board unless there's a special exemption in this policy.
And so I thought after listening to everybody, it would be a good idea to discuss removing those provisions. And I could think of a number of issues, like if we're limiting people to the number of committees, then at least 2 or 3 of us can't be on the committees we're on. We'd have to narrow it down to 1. We have issues with, because we have a small pool, we have issues with the number of people who do volunteer. It just seemed to me like taking that out. And since our attorney wrote this based on the bigger picture of where he's working with other communities that are substantially larger, I just wanted to throw out whether people would be okay with amending the policy so we can move forward on looking at the committees at the next work session.
Also in that work session, I think we had picked out that potentially removing, it said town board should have representatives from all geographic areas of town. And it kind of felt like with the size, with where folks are, there isn't a whole lot of difference between, I mean, it just seems like if we're looking for people to volunteer, that's less applicable in Bluff than maybe other places. And then one that I also kind of highlighted was spouses and family members. I mean, it definitely makes sense that they wouldn't necessarily be like a direct advisory position, but I know that can also really limit who we're bringing in for boards and committees. So those were the other 2 that I had also highlighted.
So what do folks think? I'd be in favor of amending the policy to reflect that.
I'm in favor of amending it to what Erin presented in the packet. I thought that looked adequate.
So those 4, and then I did have one quick question. So this did not come up in the previous meeting, but as I was getting all this ready for today's meeting, the Compliance with Open and Public Meetings Act. I know there had been quite a lot of discussion in the past about whether boards and committees needed to post on Utah Public Notice website, not need to post, do they need to record their meetings, do they need to do minutes and all of that. Right now, what's in this policy is that every board needs to conform with that act. And so I was curious if we want to make any exceptions to that, or if we do need to have every board start posting and noticing. I mean, I know we put it on the website, like, hey, this is when this committee is going to be meeting and it is open to the public. But I think we need to make sure that we understand, like, are they recording themselves? Are they taking minutes? How are things posted? When are minutes approved and stuff like that?
I think that the distinction between an advisory committee and a committee that's making a decision is different. You know, like planning and zoning, they're making decisions. That's probably a bigger discussion in the work session, I think, when we look at setting up some guidelines for how committees are formed. That's a good question, and I think it probably requires some legal refining by Chris as to what we're talking about.
Okay.
But I think it's definitely worth looking at when we're talking in the work session next month about numbers of people in a committee, passing the policy to apply to all committees. What's a department, what's a committee?
So it seems to me like the numbers on this would come into the appointment, advice, and consent section. It seems like that's really missing here. What do you mean by that?
Which part?
Like, well, it says up here under policy, you have, you know, conflicts and whatnot, and then you have appointment, advice, and consent. Appointments of town board members shall be made by the mayor. So if their town boards are different than town committees, which are different than like the planning commission. I don't know, if this is gonna be that general, it just, we talk about board members in here, maybe we need to wait with this until we have our work session on all the committees. But it seems like we should say that planning and zoning will be a number such and such, committees will have such and such number, departments will have whatever. It just seems like it's missing. We say we're appointing them, but we don't say how many.
That's why there's going to be a work session on going through that with detail, but to get us out of the spin that I heard at the last work session about whether you can be on one committee, two committees, whether you can be married or involved with somebody else who's on the council and the committee. It just seemed to me making these few changes immediately would be easy, and then the bigger discussion in the work session on the issues you're raising, Lou. Or we can just let it sit until the next one, but we need to.
I mean, because there's a lot of things in here, I think that you would change if we're gonna have it different, like you say, with town boards, town committees, town departments, advisory committees, commissions, planning, zoning commission. It just seems like we're gonna have to just redo this again. So it seems like if we wait till the September meeting, it might be smarter.
And the goal here is to pass this to legal, correct?
Correct.
Well, it's been illegal for however many months. I don't think it'll be, nobody's like trying to get anybody to quit or anything. It's
Okay, first of all, a policy has no legal precedent or enforcement. So let's stop using the word legal, illegal, whatever. We're not illegal. We're not doing anything wrong. We're simply correcting the policy to reflect what we're actually doing.
Yeah, so let's save that till we know what we're actually doing.
I mean,
Can we move with the cemetery without this? I think that's how it came up in the first place, right? Was we were trying to form a cemetery board.
Yep. So we can just hold it off until the work session and then just move on to the next item. I wouldn't do it that way, but
I mean, I'm fine with, I mean, if that's all we're doing is, because it sounds like, Luanne, that we could just add those words like board members, committee members, you know, all that. We could just add that in here, and then we're golden for whatever we need to, whatever comes up in the next, in the work session.
Yeah, in the scope, it says applies to all advisory town boards, commissions, councils, and committees.
Yeah,
So all of this applies to all of them. And as long as everybody's happy with that.
I think I'm happy with it enough to make a motion. I just don't want to do it if it's going to fail and waste time.
Well, that's the thing, is if we have to print it up and approve it and put it in and then do another amendment, it just seems like it's a little premature.
So I'm going to make a motion. Motion to accept amendments as presented and discussed for board and committee policy, Town of Bluff board and committee policy.
Second.
I'm sorry, was there a second?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thanks. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
No.
opposed?
I'm opposed. We haven't sorted out the Open and Public Meetings Act either.
Okay, your nay is recorded. Then we move to number 6, report on Bluff Waterworks meeting on Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. So Linda Sosa, Erin Nelson, and Luanne Hook were there. I know that Jen Davila was there, as always, as the recorder. So how did BWW do?
I to start if you'd like. Okay, so they did meet, whatever day that was.
Wednesday.
Sunday, second Wednesday. One of the things that was brought up is that the State Division of Water wants to add 3 cents for every 1,000 gallons of water used, and $7 for every meter every month in every entity that distributes water. They voted to join rural water and other districts in opposition to these fees. They voted unanimously with the group that was there. Not quite everybody was there, but they had a majority quorum. So they will oppose that. Jen has developed a website. She's got the start to it to show.
Just did a graphic. There's no website.
Okay. Okay, so she's working on the website, and Erin will help her to get it a .gov domain so that it doesn't need to be transferred later. And apparently the state of Utah will provide free domain use for these types of things. So that's in the works. They did send out an email to all users explaining what happened last time when the sensors failed. The sensors have been replaced and there's no way to know that a sensor will fail. It's that they compared it to like a light bulb. When you turn it on and it doesn't work, there's your clue that it's not working. So they have new ones in now, at least whichever ones failed. I don't know exactly the situation there, but they took a sample, a water sample after the event, and they reported it. That happened. In their section under other, they wanted to know what we discussed about the Barwell property because they'd seen it on our agenda. It does need setback from septics to do, the well does, in order to put in a septic tank. Said it's a really good well. It's not part of the system right now because it draws down too far, but we could recase it if it was ever needed. And it's complicated on the water because it is part of a group water right for the whole town. It's a group water right, not just that one single well. We discussed leasing, and for parking, they didn't see any problem. And that's what I got out of the meeting. So anybody else?
So the money that you mentioned, the $7 per meter and 3 cents per 1,000 gallons would not go to BWW, it would go to the state.
Correct.
They did put alarms when they're putting in the sensors. They also put in alarms that I believe have to do with the how high the water is. And then there was something about St. Christopher's, which I'm not super clear on, but in their capacity out there with state laws, they may have to become a water utility.
Yeah, I brought that up to them because St. Christopher's is wanting the help of Marks in the water department to know how, they're gonna have to start testing and start reporting and getting their samples to the lab. And they were willing to help them do that, and they're connected. I don't know that they've actually connected, but they both have each other's numbers and we both know that they're willing. So, but yeah, they will become a utility because they serve the public and they've got their own water rights and whatnot. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else on the waterworks meeting? Okay, then, hearing nothing, the next one is report on Utah food pantry status in the meeting on Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Linda, I think you went to that. The folks working with the food pantry on the board were invited. All of us were out of town but Linda, so I think she went.
I got lunch. There were approximately 50 people there who were connected to this. And they mentioned us briefly. Apparently, so we have the three big, large warehouses, but there are several smaller locations. We're one of them. Mexican Hat has a small location. I believe Navajo Mountain has a small location, which I thought was great because I didn't really know how that part worked. The funds that they use to create these three large warehouses were from COVID. And I had always wondered about that because those things cost a lot. So, and then they just went over statistics. Over 1 million pounds of food distributed. They're rescuing food from Maverick, Clark's, and some other place, which would be food that's would have been thrown out. I walked through the part that the public goes into, which Anne did also, because we attended the kind of the groundbreaking for the food for these. And what was interesting, it was kind of a lot like ours, except larger. The same food, just more, and except they had one big shelf of potato chips, which always kind of cracks me up with the junk food. But anyway, it was good to go. I was glad I went.
Thanks for doing that. That always helps to maintain that contact with the food pantry or the Utah Food Bank. Then next is a discussion and vote to apply for a grant for Utah Department of Transportation's Transportation Alternatives. And I'm going to guess that that's yours, Lou.
Yes, it is.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, so there is a Transportation Alternatives Program grant from UDOT. And what it is, they've already gotten the grant from the federal government. They've done all the applications. So there's no real like grant involved. It's more of an application. They want to know what we want to do and where we would put the project and what. So I can do that part. So we don't need a grant writer online. It is federal money. And so that comes in also to play because the federal money gave it to UDOT. So the idea was to see if we could get a soft surface, well, it's a hard surface, sorry, it's a hard surface trail that would start over the coffee shop, Bluff Dwellings, Twin Rocks, that intersection, and then wind through town, which is the old highway project that we're trying to get funds for to repave. It would come in front of the school, the old school, and then the fort, and then come out by the community center on 3rd over at the foundation and Smokehouse. So the idea there is to get the trail in place so that the federal funding is more available to do the paving. It would be an in-kind, it could be considered in-kind according to Tim Helper at Jones and DeMille. I stopped and talked to him yesterday. They're willing to do an estimate for free. They'll get it in time for the submittal at the end of the month at no charge. This surface that it is called organic lock, and it's what's down at Sand Island. And so it would be a natural looking surface that would come through town. It wouldn't be more paving. It wouldn't be, you know, the heat sink and whatnot. It was used at Sand Island, designed by the same group. I went to the UDOT meeting yesterday, and Chris Hall said they were doing some things over at a conservation area, and they don't want pavement, they don't want concrete, they want something natural. And so I told them about this that Jones and DeMille had found, and so they may be able to make use of it over there as well. But and what I thought we could do is approve that I put out an application to see if we can get some UDOT money and then bring it back if it's awarded. It does have a match, so we would need to approve how we do the match to it. He did think it would help us to get the old highway paved. And let's see. Yeah. Oh, as far as the TAP grant, what this does is it ties directly to our active transportation plan. The other thing that we don't have yet is a safe routes to school plan. If you look on that website, every town is required to have one. We do not. Ours skips right by. Monticello has one, Landon has one, and so on, but ours does not. So this would be a really great start to a safe routes to school from that side of the bridge. And then once the highway trail gets in, then the bridge will connect both sides of town. But anyway, so I just want to make sure it's okay that I apply for this.
Just to speak on that organic lock. So the reason that was chosen down there was specifically because they wanted tribal partners down there, wanted a natural look, but specifically did not want concrete or anything like that. That's the only reason I didn't go with something maybe more slightly durable than that stuff. And I will say, like, I've worked with that company directly, and they can't give as much information as I would like about long term, like how, because it's fairly new, like how it lasts over time. So I would just say, like, don't be too hung up on organic lock. You know,
Well,
any conversations with
yeah.
it, because I had to do it specifically because they asked for other options to not be done, and I kind of got stuck with organic lock in a way. So just so you're aware.
Yeah, and part of what we discussed was doing a concrete estimate and organic block. But there was a lot of interest at that UDOT meeting because
Might be miracle stuff. It might be the biggest pain in my life. Yeah.
well, it is repairable. You can repair it yourself. That's a perk for these rural areas if there's anything that needs repaired.
How does this dovetail in with what we approved for the widened pedestrian?
Yeah, so what it would do would be, that part would be already considered, because like your federal dollars, you get just ignored if you have not considered the alternative route. So if we don't have that in the plan, or if we don't already have it existing, we can get no federal dollars at all. So that's where Jones and DeMille thought if we had it in place, then that would go to our in-kind, like, look, we've already done this part, we just need the paving. It would mean that we don't need as much paving, so it would make the paving much cheaper. The road up on the Bluff bench is only 20 feet wide. What's proposed here through the middle of town is 36. So we should be able to shrink it at least to what's up on the Bluff bench for two cars to pass at slow rates of speed through our residential historic district. So it should cut that cost way down.
Is this flat?
The material,
Yeah,
yeah, you would make it ADA compliant.
and so it's like on the edge, and Michael's talked about the road being wider. And so it would just be flat and on the edge.
It'd be completely separate, so it'd be easier to keep it ADA. Like a road, you can go on slopes, you can slope them, you can go up a hill, you can go down a hill. The ADA things, you've got a lot more things that you've got to meet. So if we stick it right on the side of the road, the whole road's gonna have to meet that, because to get over and have that part is gonna make it
So
more
there's a,
complicated.
there's no barrier between the
I
stuff
mean-
and the road.
Not so far. I mean, nobody's proposed a barrier. It would just be a trail. So like the people that are at the coffee shop, say, or at Twin Rocks, they see, oh, look, we can just walk through and go. Kids can get down to the road and then they can safely walk to school. So it'd be a safe route.
So we have, right now, we have one child who walks to school. We had two, now we have one.
And that's part of what the livability and the strategic, or in the, strategic plan, the livability was to make it so that we can have families here and you can have safety. That's why we're doing a playground. That's why we're doing the trails through town, is to make it, the livability index go higher. And you don't have to just send them on the road and you don't have to drive them.
We actually have more than one kid.
I know.
We've
I'm
started
already
to walk to
thinking.
school, you know, it's.
Yeah, we've got, and
So
you never
let-
know who's gonna move in.
Can
Anyway,
I-
so I just would like some permission to go ahead and put the application in and see what happens with the,
So this is just a step of getting more information, seeing what UDOT would be willing to do. So we don't need a vote for you to move forward on a grant, just on moving forward to get the information.
it's an application to get the TAP grant. It's called traditional, or I always want to call it traditional, transportation alternatives program, that they have federal money that they're wanting to disperse to the state throughout the communities. And they're looking for communities that have a project in mind and that they want to do. It was Michael's idea to look at the old highway through there. And I was like, that's perfect. It dovetails right with it. So.
What I'm trying to do is keep us moving here, but so I'm trying to understand if we're actually applying for a grant, or are you just getting more information, but you're actually applying for something?
Correct.
And is it for a set amount of money?
No, because one of the things on the grant is they need they call it an accurate estimate from a qualified engineering company. And that's what Jones and DeMille said, yes, they totally can get that to me by the deadline, which is the end of the month,
When is the deadline for the application?
the 29th.
Oh,
That's why we need to know today.
the 29th of August.
Right. And it's just, like I say, it's not a whole entire grant. We're not putting in photos and all the things that are sometimes associated with grants. It's something that it's an application to show. And what I would tie it to is back to the active transportation plan that they've already approved, and we did under their direction, showing that this is part of it and that it would lead to the safe routes to school plan that we also need to get together.
Okay,
Even though we only have a few kids, we don't want any of them run over.
trying to move us along.
Okay, but yeah, so John, I can make the motion. I mean, it seems a little odd.
Well, so the application is due next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday. Did Jones and DeMille give you any idea when because that's the only part that makes me worry, is voting to say yes to something, not knowing the number, and then not knowing what our match requirements and things could be.
Well, that's
Don't
why
we
if we
still
get,
have to approve
Yeah,
if we
once we get it.
apply for the grant, then we still have to approve the award,
the acceptance of it.
the acceptance
Okay.
of the grant, right?
Yeah, and then we see if it's something that we can do in preparation for the paving, or if it's too much and we cannot. Then we move on from there.
And this is what the transportation committee is.
Yes,
is
exactly.
what
I
it's
should have mentioned that. Yeah, the Active Transportation Advisory Committee wanted to move forward with this project. And thank you, Britt. I should have said that at the very start. This is reporting from the Active Transportation Advisory Committee requesting that we apply for this grant so that we can be working on our active transportation plan.
Well, I'm comfortable making a motion, so it's not weird for you. A motion to apply for a grant from UDOT's Transportation Alternatives Program for ADA trail along Old Highway and Bluffs Historic District.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, moving to number 9, a report on UDOT's regional planning meeting of August 18th. And Luanne, that's yours. I may need to jump off in a minute, Britt, if you can pick up if I do.
Okay, yeah, but we skipped number 10, so let's bump your stuff up then,
Well,
and we'll circle
Wait,
back.
we haven't paid
We're on
the bill.
9.
Oh, yeah, no, we're on
But-
11. Yeah, we're on 9. We skipped 9 and 10. So,
You,
I don't
they,
know.
there were a
Just
couple
got the
things
one on the
added.
packet.
Okay.
Yeah, there was,
Sorry.
number 9 is the report on UDOT's regional planning meeting, 10 is the
Okay.
vote to pay bills, and 11 is the planning and zoning. So whatever order, what order did you want to go in, Ann?
Okay, so what I'm looking at on my phone, which may not be the most current, was after the transportation alternatives, the TAP. The next one I have is 9, report on UDOT's regional planning meeting. Is that,
Okay.
is
Yep,
that
that's-
consistent with what you have?
It is, it's what I have, it's just, yeah,
Okay.
it was.
All right. And go ahead, Lou.
Okay, so that was yesterday. We were invited to go as the town, the county, the chapter houses. There were a lot of invitations set out. What they're trying to do is a 30-year long-range planning. There were about 15 of us in attendance, counting the presenters, the 2 presenters from UDOT, which was Chris Hall, and there's a Natalia who's doing a lot of the work with him. And they've gone to all the counties in the state and doing a big plan. So this plan involves vehicles, it involves transit, and it involves active transportation. Those are their 3 focus points for their 30-year plan. What they wanted from us was to look at their population numbers, and they had little spots separated out and how many households were in each one. So they had gotten that from the county mostly, and then there were a few people from the Mexican Water chapter, and they told them about the plus codes and the addressing that's been going on to make sure we had, Anathrite and Bluff and so on. So that was good information. What they're doing is looking at subdivisions where people are using the highways, where the jobs are. Told them that we don't really have that, but we have a lot of tourism. They were interested in the TRT report that just filed, both the Mexican Water chapter and UDOT. So I need to get that from you so I can send it on. I don't know if I have it in mind, but I know Erin's filed it for the town, but I told them how many people we can have in the town compared to, these houses that they're checking out. So we did check their data. A few of them changed. There were a couple, like, oh, there's actually 3 houses there and only, so they kind of joke that we fight for our 1 or 2 compared to the, the up north where there's big subdivisions and whatnot. The next meeting will address more of the needs, turn lanes. We talked about Sand Island, we talked about Forest Gump Hill, the turning lanes up north where they're going into the copper mine and whatnot. 2 things that came out of it. Well, one thing, I did thank them for pushing through the 162, 262 road work, even though it's been a real, attention getter for having to go through the construction. It's great, and the finished product's going to be really well. So I did thank them for pushing that through, and they appreciated the local support when they were trying to get that grant. It was also federal money. There is a thing that's similar to their active transportation plan, and they call it the Transportation Master Plan. So they like to have the towns have a transportation master plan. And that's the same as the active transportation plan. You get community input, you get buy-in from the people, you get support. And then you give that to UDOT. It's one of their programs. And then from that, they recognize the need of the community and are more apt to look at it. So we talked about the turning lane to Sand Island, talked about roundabouts, something to slow the speed down through Bluff. And they said if we had this in our transportation master plan and had it passed, that would go a long way in getting some ways to slow down the traffic on 191. They have grants available to help us plan it, just like Utah did for the active one. They have grants available to help us plan the transportation master plan. Yeah, I was the only one there from Bluff. Nobody was from Blanding, but we had Monticello, we had a Mexican Water chapter, TJ of the roads department, a guy from Monticello, Caden, I didn't know him, but county commissioner, and Mac, the county administrator. So any questions? Okay. But we ought to consider that. And then I'll let you know, when the next meetings come up, because that's when we can say, hey, we need such and such. 30 years.
Any further discussion? Ann has had to hop off. So Ann's hopped off, so I'll take over, finish out the agenda. Sorry for the confusion on having an older agenda, but I'm back on track now. Number 10, review and vote to pay bills.
Alrighty, so I don't have much for this week. I am requesting a $50,000 transfer from PTIF to general checking to cover the rest of August bills in early September, since we're not meeting until the second week of September. We do have some legal things from Dufferin Waldeck, payroll, general utilities and such. And then, yeah, so nothing big, but the transfer from PTIF to general to just kind of cover regular expenses until we see each other again.
And so I'm kind of curious that the income isn't keeping up with the bills, or is that going to some of the?
So all the taxes go directly to PTIF. So we're not transferring anything to PTIF from our general checking. So this is just keeping up with payments that need to come out of the general fund. But yeah, all the sales taxes or all the taxes are just getting deposited directly into PTIF and are earning interest.
Thank you. I remember that now.
Okay, all good clarification.
Motion that we pay the bills.
Second. All right.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. All right, number 11, report on Bluff's planning and zoning meeting. Luanne.
Yes. One. Okay, so it's only on the August 7th meeting. We've been updated prior to that. It was, there's not a lot here, but the building department, Kristen Bushnell did come to the meeting. She gave an update, which was basically not an update. She didn't have much to report. There were no LUCs applied for, so there's a lot of interest, but nothing on the books. They are updating San Juan County to make sure that they direct all inquiries to Bluff, because always before it was go to the county, take it to the county, take it to the county, and so we need to make sure the county says, which is basically the same people, but they need to make sure that they're sending stuff back. So on the work session on the 21st, coming up Thursday, they are going to work with Soul Smart for the ordinance. Brian and Marcia, two commissioners, met with Soul Smart on the 18th. That was the plan anyway. I'm not hurt, but then that will follow with the work session on the 21st in order to work on the energy ordinance. And then Marcia had mentioned that she might be interested in the Utah League of Cities and Towns convention. Wasn't anybody else with interest, and that's all I had. So we do meet again Thursday work session.
Any discussion? All right, number 12, report on fiscal year 2025 audit by Larson and Company. Erin.
Yeah, so Larson is kind of in the phase right now where they are sampling transactions and testing those transactions. We have sent over some of like the pre documents so they can see like what we use for policies and procedures. So I'm trying to connect with their senior auditor regarding just a couple questions I have about the transactions that they're trying to look at. Haven't heard anything. Auditing is pretty straightforward until the end when they do their final report out. But we're just kind of getting stuff back to them, and we've worked with a couple different folks. But their auditing team seems good. They started right when they said they would last week, and my guess is they'll probably be finished with the transaction testing by the end of this week, if I had to guess. And so nothing else to report there.
Your favorite category?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Erin. All right, number 13, needed a volunteer or two to attend post-election audit in San Juan County on Friday, August 22nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. at Monticello. Ann's not on, so maybe I'll kick it to Erin and see if there's any more.
Yeah, so we got a request from Vint DeGraw, and Lyman Duncan was also copied, but since Blanding had a primary election, they are doing the post-election audit. I don't know if like canvassing is included too, but essentially they are highly encouraging and requesting that representation from Blanding clearly, but also from Monticello and Bluff show up to see the process, because we will have to go through this entire process post-election in November. And so they were requesting to have some folks in attendance on Friday morning. So just seeing if anyone would like to go up. It sounds like it could be like a 2 to 3 hour process.
Does somebody need to be there? Like, who's gonna be doing it on the election? It seems like whoever that's gonna be up to do this first one.
Yeah. And I will say, I'm already signed up for that radiological risks nuclear waste thing on Friday from 8 to 3, so I'm unavailable.
I can't make Friday happen.
I was gonna go up. I figured I had time. I was also signed up for the nuclear thing, but I know that Malia is gonna be here. So that would work with my schedule to go up. I would imagine that maybe not Luanne, given that you're running for council, at least for ours. And then Linda, since your seat is up, I don't know if you want to go or not. I mean, I think if at least one of us was there, it's great. But especially with it being like a 2 to 3 hour process, I'm comfortable going. I'm okay with that unless someone really wants to fight me for it.
Well, I think it mostly depends on who, like you say, who will do it on the next, after this next election, because that's sort of a training, so they don't have to do so much training on the main election. So whoever is going to be doing that,
I'm sure I will be available for that one too. As long as the one thing that I will would need to verify is if it can be staffed. You know, if it has to be an elected official, then of course it sounds like that could potentially go over to Linda. But yeah, I will verify, because I don't think I see it in here if it has to be any particular position who's there.
I had Lottie, so, and I don't think she would enjoy it.
That would make sense. Yeah, so just so everyone's aware, the audit consists of processing 100 randomly selected ballots through the ballot tabulation process. For Blandings, this should take 2 to 3 hours. So I will sign myself up, and if for some reason they must have an elected official, I will get back with all of you.
Erin and I did that they did kind of a mini thing last time where the two of us went up and they showed us the machinery, and it was pretty interesting.
I'm not opposed to learning this stuff, I just don't.
You just don't have like 4 hours to devote to landings.
Unless somebody wants to go to
Election.
Farmington and do a shop for me.
Okay, we're both gonna go to Marcel, and then we're both gonna go to Farmington. All right, I'll let you know if there's anything else, but we're good.
Oh, 9, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
not-
it's, as long as I can learn with that, train somebody else later, if we have to have somebody else. or something.
I'll reach out to him. Should be fine. Cool, thanks.
Any further discussion on that? Thank you, Erin. All right, now the other, we have written down here, a reminder that there is no meeting scheduled for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Is there any other?
I have one other, back to Jones and DeMille one more time. They were working on the violetics on our roads and it is ready to present. And so they were hoping that you would get in touch with them there.
Yeah, I had reached out. It looks like my stuff had went to their spam box.
Okay, 'cause
So-
there was some
Yeah.
disconnect there.
Yeah.
So, but he's ready and he said, well, you can come in September and do it to the whole council if it's something like that, or maybe just the roads department or whatever. So anyway,
Yes, I am reaching out. We're trying to get scheduled around some out of town and Michael and Ann and everything. I think the first step is to like get the email address, who's gonna be in there. So I was thinking the roads department, of course, and myself. And then, yeah, I think presentation definitely in order and I, maybe we could schedule it around. Do you guys have a roads department meeting scheduled? We do. Let's kick this over there and then determine at the roads department if they need to have the rest of the council involved.
it is August 21st, at 9 o'clock,
Thursday at 9.
Thursday at 9.
I have another, oh, sorry.
I have another, so just a quick tutorial about the agenda, how it works. So Ann gets me the agenda Thursday or Friday, I format it, send it out to everyone so they kind of can, it can kind of be a reminder if people have stuff they need to put in, and it keeps changing. So daily, sometimes daily, sometimes it just depends. But the one that I send to planning and zoning and the council is the last one. And it's also, there was a small change on this one because of Diana's presentation. But that's, it keeps changing, and so yeah, it is confusing.
Erin was trying to be kind to me and give me a print version. So
Oh,
was
no,
looking
I was,
at that
no, I'm
wrong
so sorry.
one, So sorry for that.
No, my only other is just a reminder of the pancake breakfast on September 13th from 8 to 10. More information is going out to the community, and as a reminder, if anyone wants to donate to the silent auction, it is highly encouraged. But I'll get some more information out, and I am helping to coordinate with the fort, because it will be hosted at the fort's pavilion.
And then one other about Subject Smart Week.
Yeah, so Malia and I had a good administrative meeting with the health department director, Dennis Shumway, today up in Blanding, and he wanted to meet with us, and so one of the things that came out of that was, he's really locking down on a lot of the regulations regarding many health department things, but one is the septic systems, and septic systems really need to be like highly engineered. There's all kinds of tips and tricks to get your septic to do what it's supposed to do. And so lo and behold, there is a septic smart week. I keep calling it septic appreciation week. Which, because I do appreciate having a working septic system, September 15th through the 19th. And Malia and I are gonna work on coordinating a time for him to come down with some like vendors, like septic pumping, either installation engineers and folks to do like a little presentation for the community. So definitely not town hosted necessarily, but like a community, hey, like come get some information, meet the people who can help you fix your issues, or if you want to install and build, here are some considerations that will help you. So we just learned about that today, and hopefully we would have more information by the work session on the 9th, if not sooner. Yay, septic systems.
It's so cool.
It's gonna be great.
All right, any other? Motion to adjourn, or it is 5:42.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? All opposed? It's unanimous. We are turning off the recorder. Thank you. Have a good evening. Sorry. Started on.
Got 'em. And I think it's just Craig on. Bye, Craig. Thanks for stopping by today. We appreciate it. And
The recording has stopped.